Beauty on a budget. Is it possible? Of course it is, and I'm hoping that some of these items that I'm playing with today will prove that. I really am hoping so, because I haven't tried any of them, and I'm gonna dive into that with you today. But if we haven't met before, my name is Kelly, and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist, and here on my channel, I strive to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Today is all about low-cost, budget-friendly items. I think that everything I have here in front of me, honestly, most of these were under $10. I have a couple $12, a $15 item. I think I even have a couple that were like around the $5, $6 mark. So we're doing a full face of low-cost items. Now, some of these are newer products, some of them aren't, but I have not tried any of them before. So we're gonna dive into this. I really just felt like it was time to reel the price range of some of the products that I've been featuring here on my channel. Do not get me wrong. I do love a good high-end, a couple luxury products in my life, but I also think that you can find some great deals at the drugstore. Now, 90% of these are from the drugstore. I do have a couple Sephora collection items that I purchased in the most recent VIB sale. So those were actually even better of a steal because they were 30% off. So I do have a couple of those that I'm gonna be including in here, but everything else you could get at your local Walmart, Target, Ulta. I think that's actually where I got all of these at Walmart and Ulta. So they're pretty much readily available. I think a lot of these you can get on Amazon as well. So you have a lot of ways that you could get these into your life if you like them. I do have a couple things that I'm really excited to try. So I'm just gonna kind of like let you know about those right away. So one of the things that I have really been looking to change up in my makeup routine is the amount of coverage that I wear. And I already wear a fairly light amount of coverage, but I really have been enjoying very, very light coverage recently, but I do have some redness on my skin and that can still peek through when I'm wearing a really light coverage. So I was looking to get a green color corrector to be able to like soften that. And I saw that L'Oreal just recently released this Prime Lab Redness Eraser. So this is essentially a green tinted primer. It does say that it covers redness and evens tone over time. I'm assuming that they're saying that the 4% niacinamide in here will help with that. Here's how I feel about makeup that is also touting skincare claims. I think sometimes they can be true. I just always take it with a grain of salt. I sort of think of it as like a possible extra benefit to my life. I really think that some of my redness, it's actually not too bad today, but I think that some of the redness that I get is honestly just due to hormonal changes. I'm 41 years old. I think I'm 41 years old. And, you know, it just comes with time. So I'm really interested to try this one out. This was something that I purchased in my recent Ulta points haul, which is actually going to be coming up after this video. The other thing that I picked up was this Telescopic length, lift, and volume mascara. Hey, I just had to hop on as I'm editing this video because I got these products, well, some of these, including this mascara, I got quite a while ago, like before Christmas. And it's just taken me a moment to round everything up to do this try on. And I'm editing this video and then like all of a sudden all of this drama like pops up and I'm like, oh my gosh, this mascara has a lot going on right now. So I just need to let all of you know, I got this mascara before like Mascara Gate started. So keep that in mind as I do this review and everything. I had no idea that it was going to be such a thing. So, all right, now back to this. From L'Oreal, they were doing like some sort of a deal, you know, some sort of a sale. So I picked this up. So this to me looks really very promising. I'm really excited to try this mascara because it looks like a combination between a mascara that I loved that is discontinued from the drugstore many moons ago, and also maybe kind of like the Tower 28 Make Waves mascara. We'll have to see when we get into this, but we're going to be using that guy today as well. I do also have a few e.l.f. products in here. The two that I'm gonna just kind of pop up right now. I've never tried the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. I'm really excited to give this a go. I've been looking for a shade that is more winter appropriate for me in like a cream type product, so I thought that this would be good to try. And then they did have the new Luminous putty blushes. So I did pick one of these up. Actually, I was at Walmart and I saw that they had, you know, the regular putty blushes. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give this one a go. But then at Ulta, they had the Luminous one. So I do have two here. Honestly, I don't need 2 more cream blushes, so I might end up taking the shade Turks and Caicos back to Walmart. Just leave it, you know, still in the box so I can return it. But this color looks really pretty. This is the shade Isla de Sol, and I'm really excited to try this one. Is a shimmery coral blush technically seasonally appropriate? I don't care. I'm just excited to try this one on. We'll see. Maybe I fall in love with this one so much that I want to keep the other one. And I did also get an eyeshadow palette from a brand that I have never tried. Several people, when I was asking about eyeshadows in my Instagram stories, like what affordable eyeshadow brands do you like, several people said Profusion. So I did pick up this Meadow palette. I thought that this was definitely more seasonally appropriate. We have some beautiful shades in here. I really think this is going to be fun to play with. I'll open it up and show you all the shades as we get into it. This is a brand that I've never tried and I've heard good things. I did also, I'm not sure how I'm going to use 2 eyeshadow palettes, but I couldn't help but getting one of the So Fierce Prismatic palettes. This is of course from Revlon, and Walmart was clearing them out. This I got for $8.50. This one, by the way, was like $5.10. A $5 eyeshadow palette. I don't know, y'all. We're gonna see. Maybe it's gonna be amazing. Maybe I will have wasted $5, but I guess the only way we find out is to get into it. So I'm gonna zoom you in. Why don't we start out with the eyes just in case this is Fallout City? Okay, like I said, we're gonna start out with the eyes. I do have a full face. I have a full face of budget-friendly products here to get into. Some I'm really excited to try out, some that I am a little nervous for. I'll get into that in a while. But we are gonna start out with the eyes just because I don't know how this Profusion palette is going to be. I don't know if the mattes are super like powdery, if they're gonna fall all over my face, and I really just want to protect myself from bad things happening. I am hoping to film another video after this. Sorry, I'm like peeling off the sticky stuff, but I am hoping to film another video after this, so I don't want to look like a hot mess. So let's open this baby up. Again, this is the Meadow palette, and this does have a variety. It looks like we have 2 full-on shimmers. We have 3 or 4 of those like mattes that have a little sparkle to them, which really ends up not translating on the eye, by the way. And then we have 4 like regular mattes. So I could not pick, you know, they had some neutrals, they had some brights. There might have even been more of a cool toned story, but I really just thought, well, this would give me a lot of options. This is sort of like, for me, I think that this would be a good palette, like fall leaning into winter, but I guess, I mean, really this top row here is quite wintry. I don't know. It just was pretty. Obviously, I was kind of drawn to this sort of like rose goldy shade and the Roots shade here, which is sort of that like, looks like a green brown pigment. And like I said, I also have one of these Revlon palettes. So this is this cute little quad. This one Jeremy actually picked out. I could not decide. They were all on clearance for slightly different prices, which I think that's so weird when they do that, but they were all on clearance. So I'm wondering if Walmart just isn't going to be carrying them anymore. So I couldn't decide. So I just told Jeremy, he was with me. I was like, pick one. So this is the one that he picked. This, by the way, is the That's a Dub palette. Okay. So this is obviously some more, I would say, mostly cool toned leaning colors. This sort of like dusty champagne shade is a little bit warmer than the rest. I know that there's been a lot of buzz on these. They were formulated in Italy, so we'll have to see. Again, even at like $8.50, I feel like that's a pretty good deal. I will also say that I noticed I have not gone shopping for makeup in a Walmart in a very long time. I mean, I honestly haven't really done a lot of shopping in Walmart just in general, but I was like, yep, everything there was priced slightly lower than Ulta. So I was like, unless you're really trying to get those Ulta points, or if you have a good coupon, you might want to like walk your way over to Walmart, because I think that the prices are all better there. Okay, now what the heck am I doing with my life? So usually when I do eyeshadow, I very rarely use a primer on my eyelids. I pretty much just use concealer. I'm kind of wondering though, do I use the new concealer on my eyes, or should I use a concealer that I know that I like on my eyes, which is technically cheating because I don't have any drugstore concealers? You know what the heck, we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna use this one. This is the Bright Future Gel Serum Concealer from Sephora. This is $15 at full price, but I got it for 30% off. So I got it for 10 bucks, and I think that that's a pretty good price. Like everything at the drugstore is just like hopping up in price. And so it's nice to have, it's nice to have some products that are like at Sephora, but also a good deal. And this had really good reviews. So we're gonna try this one out. I'm just gonna pop this on my eyelids right now, and we will go from there. So my intentions are to just go straight in with the eyeshadow. A lot of times I'll like set my concealer on my eyes first and then use like a translucent powder to set first, but I'm going to maybe try not to do that. But what I'll do is swatch some of the eyeshadows and the palettes, and we can kind of come up with a color story roughly, and then that will give the concealer a little bit of time to set down on its own. And if it's creasing really bad, I will go ahead and set it. I will say I can't say that I don't have a powder. I do have a drugstore powder that I'm going to use. I don't necessarily want to use it to set the eye. I'm a little afraid of that, and I'll tell you why once we get to the powder part. The powder is what I'm a little bit afraid of. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So, I feel like that's a pretty good shade match. It's maybe slightly yellow for me, but it's working. It's working just fine. You know, I mean, it's on our eyelids. What can I say? All right, so let's take a look. I don't know how I'm gonna use both of these eyeshadow palettes, but I'm gonna figure out a way. But I do want to swatch both this Foliage shimmer and the Roots shimmer. So you can see those here. Those are actually really pretty. Roots is definitely, they feel pretty creamy. It's definitely that like mahogany brown base with that green kind of reflect to it. Totally like, you know, MAC's like green, brown, brown, green. This Foliage shade is maybe a little chunkier. It definitely isn't quite as smooth. I mean, they're both pretty, but I definitely see a little bit more texture. I don't know if you can see it, but it isn't like completely opaque. It has a little bit of a flake to it. So that makes me a smidge nervous. I don't know that, I think that it probably like with the glitter glue or wetting your brush, it wouldn't be so bad. Before I make any decisions, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna swatch a couple of the shades in here. So let's see, right away, this like really pretty like pearly taupe catches my eye. Oh, that's pretty. That gives me Natasha Denona Glam vibes. Do these have names? Don't think so. This is, I think for me, like I still need a little bit more kick in the pants, so I'd probably end up wetting my brush. And then I'm gonna use, it almost looks like these are, the first one is super metallic, the second one's fairly metallic, but then the last two, I would personally consider these like satin shades. So I'm gonna take this sort of like dusty brown gray. We can kind of take a peek. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna turn my light down a little bit. I feel like they're just a little too bright. The guys were in here before changing out. I had a ceiling fan with a light in here before, and the light doesn't work anymore, so I ended up just putting in a new light. It's very pretty. I will maybe, if I can, I will put a picture of it up, but they were in here and I was just trying to like have enough light in the room for them, and so I didn't realize quite how bright it was. All right, that being said, let me go ahead, why don't we just go ahead and swatch these couple green shades here. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna place any judgment. I'm also gonna take the like wine shade. Worst swatches ever. Okay, that gives me a vibe of where to go with these. I'm also realizing that like this blush would probably go way better than this blush. It's fine. We're trying out the formulas more than anything. I mean, this is more of a Kelly blush for sure. For me, I just was drawn to it. I was drawn to it and I needed to pick it up. By the way, I meant to mention that in the intro. I got things that I was truly interested in trying. I didn't want to get anything just to like spend my money to try it for a video for several reasons. My collection is already big enough that I don't need to just be buying things. And also, in all honesty, the money that I spend is very rarely recuperated in AdSense. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna spend X dollars on this video and get that money back. I'm usually not. So to like, just financially for me, it's a silly choice, and collection wise, makeup waste, all of that stuff, I only got things that I was really interested in. So that was the color that I was interested in. What can I say? All right, enough rambling. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be like an hour-long video. So I think what I'm gonna do is start with mattes. I'm gonna go in with Forbidden, which is a shade that I actually didn't swatch. It's this one right here. We're gonna start with that. It's like a mauve-y terracotta shade. We'll go ahead and begin with that one. No. You know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? I just realized I have a product that I want to lay down first because I think I'm gonna go with like a smoky eye. So I got, sorry, I was like, oh, I should have put a base underneath this. So I got this e.l.f. No Budge matte shadow stick in the shade Cool Beans, and I intended to use it as like an eyeliner, like on my waterline and everything, but I think that I'd like to put this down as a base color for that Roots shade, for that like green brown. Let's try it. Let's smudge it at the lash line first just to see, and then we can go from there. I honestly just thought that this would be really good to be able to go through and use as a base, like I said, or just as like a very quick waterline liner. I don't even know. They didn't have any of these out to sample. I don't even know what size it is. So it's like your basic, like kind of chubby crayon. I just thought that, you know, like a true neutral, almost leaning like cool toned brown would be really like a pretty color. So I'm gonna just like put this just right at the lash line. It's really creamy. And then I'm just taking a brush to kind of like blend out that edge a little bit. I think that that's going to be a nice base for that color, because what I was thinking, so if I'm going to be layering eyeshadows, like if I want a matte underneath a color that, you know, could maybe use a little bit more, I want something that's going to set, because otherwise I feel like if I lay down a matte powder shadow and then I go over it with a shimmer shadow, it like, they merge together, you know, like it's really hard to just tap it over top and not pick up some of that matte shadow. So I think that this will be nice to have down first. It did like blend out a little bit lighter. I don't mind that at all. I could go back through if I wanted to and layer it back up, but I don't really need to do that. I'm trying to avoid getting too close to my inner corner just because I think I'm going to want that light and bright. I think I'm going to use that pretty shade in the Revlon palette, but we'll see. Now, I don't think that these little like smudge stick type things are new, but I think that the matte ones are new. I think e.l.f. had the shimmers before, but these mattes are a new formula. Okay, so I'm gonna let that sit on the eye just to let it set. So it says this No Budge Creamy Matte Eyeshadow features a long-lasting formula designed to stay in place. The twist-up design and smooth formula allow for easy application as an eyeshadow or liner to create a range of looks. You can wear it alone, under or over eyeshadow. So the only thing about a crayon like this is it's not sharpenable. So once that initial tip kind of gets like worn down, it's a little bit harder to use as a liner just because it's a little bit fatter. But I just want to let that set for a moment so it can like live its best life. I will say that this is definitely creamy. Like you can really kind of like buff and blur this out a lot, but if you want to keep it at that like full opacity, you don't want to blend it out too much just because it was so creamy. To be honest, that does make me just a little bit worried because like, is it that creamy, but it is actually going to set down? I don't know. We'll see in just a moment. I'm gonna go back. Okay, hello, squirrel moment. I'm gonna go back to blending that Forbidden shade now into the crease. And I'm okay if these two colors sort of like merge together. I mean, I don't think that that shadow stick is like moving around too much, so that's a good sign. And again, I think I could have like built up the color of that shadow stick really like quite a bit more, but I almost just wanted it for that little bit of depth underneath that other shadow. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead in with that Evergreen shade, which is the darker of the green. I mean, this one again has some of those sparkles in it, which I don't think we're gonna see. I didn't see it in the swatch, and I don't think I'm gonna see it on my eye once I use a brush. But that's gonna be what I put into this outer corner. I'm just kind of like getting the shape right now, and then I'll probably go back with Habitat, which is that lighter green, to sort of soften the edges and blend a little bit. Now, where these two colors meet, they are going to get just a bit murky, a little bit grungy, because obviously I'm almost using like opposites on the color wheel. We've got a green and essentially a very, very sheer red, right? So that's okay with me. I'm gonna be okay with a little bit of murk in this look. Okay, now let's go ahead and put Roots over the whole thing. Well, not over the whole thing, but over the whole lid. Let me grab a little shadow brush. This did pick up really nicely on the brush. I'm using a Refer 21, and I have wet my brush, more so just because that's what I use most of the time. Like, I almost always wet my brush, but it's really going to help obviously enhance the color of the shadow. And then I feel like, yeah, that looks really pretty. Having that darker base underneath really brings out that green flip. Yeah, that's really pretty. I mean, it's not the shimmiest of the shimmery, but it definitely has like a nice little shift to it. Also, like fallout notice, I did get a bit of fallout from the shimmer shade Roots, but the mattes, I got 0 fallout. I don't see anything. That's pretty impressive. Okay, I'm going to take just a tiny bit of that deeper kind of like mulberry shade in the Profusion palette, and I'm just going to wiggle it like right at the edge. This will kind of be like my deepening shade. That shade, by the way, if you have this palette, is called Willow. What I thought might happen with this is I would end up with like a plummy brown, just because again, I was putting like a red with a green to kind of make a brown, but it still has a little bit of that plummy base. I definitely have some feelings on these mattes though. The Evergreen shade, that one that has, you know, that like almost more like satin or like matte with slight flecks in it, it's really kind of hard to build up. I'm just kind of like having to tap it, because if I blend it too much, it starts to get patchy. So rather than like swiping, I'm just like tapping. It works. We got it. We got it. All right, that really wasn't too bad. Now, if I had a lot of large real estate on my eyes, I could go ahead and take this color back through along the lash line and make it, you know, more of like an actual like smoky liner. But I don't have a lot, and I really want that like lid shade to really show. So this I'll just go through and put it on my waterline, and then that way I can give you a little like check-in blurb at the end of the night and let you know how this all wore too. So this might make a good waterline liner. We'll see. So now I am going to clean up a little bit of this fallout. I am going to go ahead and do the rest of my face before I come in and finish the lower lash line and inner corner. So I'm really excited to try out some of these other things that I haven't shared with you yet. Okay, fallout is whisked. I will say I took a little bit more of that like mauve-y tone and ran it through this area. I didn't really want like, I wasn't planning on doing such a deep look, but I also didn't want to just do something like light and whispery, because then we don't really know like the true potential that these eyeshadows have. So here we are. We're a dark forest fairy and I'm here for it. Okay, so let's go ahead and try out this Prime Lab primer. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of this out on my hand. Ooh yeah, it's definitely that like pistachio ice cream color. I don't know how much to use, so I'm gonna start conservative. So with a primer like this, like anytime you're using a tinted product, you don't want to put it everywhere, because otherwise you are completely you are undoing the balancing that you're wanting to do, right? So just put, like if you're looking to brighten purple under eyes with like a peachy corrector, just use it under the eye in those purple areas. So that means if you have purple here but not here, don't put it here. Same thing with the redness. I really am focusing here. I do feel like I'm a little red on my cheeks right here, so I might pop a little bit there. I don't really care that much about that area though, because I'm obviously going to be putting blush there. So this definitely has some green tint to it. And I'm not normally team fingers with many products, but with something like this, I think it's just a really good way to kind of like merge it in with my skin. And again, my goal with this is hoping that I probably should have done it on one side of my face, huh? That I can reduce enough of the redness that I feel like I can wear less coverage and still feel really evened out. So if you're like me and you have a bit of redness anywhere, whether that is maybe you have a lot of pigmentation from acne scars and it looks more red, you could just pop this over those areas. Or maybe, you know, you've got hormonal redness like I do, and I'm okay if it's just like ever so slightly alphaba vibes, like just through those red areas, because that's gonna still like kind of, you know, start to peek through. But I wouldn't put it down here where I don't have any redness, because it's really gonna look green. I'm gonna look like the pistachio queen. So I definitely want to avoid those areas that don't have redness. I know that that seems obvious, but I see a lot of people just go, oh, redness reducing primer, and just like putting it all over. Now, as far as finish on the skin, I would say it is ever so slightly mattifying. Like, not a lot, but it just knocked down my glow just a little bit. But that could also be that it's a cooler tone and it just doesn't bounce as much light off either. But definitely mattified slightly, which in this area I'm not mad about. And I will also say that right now, you know, rolling into winter, normally throughout the year I have a fairly normal leaning dry, and then in the dead of winter I'm super dry. So right now I'm just like slightly dry, but not super dry. But I don't know. We'll have to see as the day goes on. I'll have to try it also with a foundation product that I've used and loved, because this one I've never tried before, the one we're about to use. So I can't really say too much until I try it with a product that I've used before. But right now, I don't know if you had like super dry skin. It's not mattifying. Like, it's not like super, super matte, but don't you feel like it's a little less glowy than it was in those areas? Let me know down below. Okay, so the product that we're gonna use, this isn't new, but I'm really excited to try it. This is the Wet n Wild Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator. So when I was planning out this video, I intended to just use my Sephora S-Clean that I've talked about, because it is in a relatively good price range, especially if you get it during the sale, because I just really don't need another face product, but I don't have a lot of drugstore priced foundation products. But I had to do a return, a happy return to Ulta. So it's sort of like, you know, one of those like QR codes, boop, and you just send back something you're returning. I was actually returning a couple Fabletics products because they were the wrong size. So I was returning those. Wow, rambly. And I got a $5 off 15 coupon, including prestige products, by the way. I was pretty excited to realize that. That's almost like a reason to do my returns there than anywhere else. That's kind of exciting. But anyway, so it was $5 off of 15, and I realized I was going to be getting these two. And so I was like, well, gosh, if I use the coupon, this isn't going to be that much more. And it ended up being $1.50. This ended up being $1.50 because it's like $6.50 or something like that. So it was a great deal, I thought. So this says it is a tinted skin veil with hyaluronic acid and squalane. It says it's a lightweight, non-greasy finish, sheer to medium. Which to me, it's like, yeah, that sounds perfect. That sounds exactly like what I want if I'm gonna wear something like this on my skin to even out redness, to even out my skin tone, and then go through with something super sheer. So I'm very excited to try this. I will say, I don't know if they have more shades available on the website or at other places. Tell you what, my Ulta selection, we're gonna get into that at some point as I'm smearing stuff on my face, but it's kind of a dismal shade selection. I would say they really don't have anything for more than like medium, slightly deeper than medium skin. They might on the website. I'll actually maybe do some research and I'll let you know right here, but in the store they only had, I would say, like 6 shades. Now granted, something that's this sheer, you can kind of like stretch either way, but I still think that they needed at least 1 or 2 more shades to really cover all skin tones. Now for this, I want to use a fairly small brush just so I have control, because I'm going to go through and mostly like tap it in and then just kind of like buff at the very end. But I do feel like this primer has set down quite a bit. That's one thing that I would say is like, let the primer set for a while so that it's really like stuck to your skin before you go buffing anything over the top, or you'll displace the primer. I'm hoping this is a good shade for me. By the way, I got the shade light medium. Oh, I think it's gonna be a good one. I'm definitely on the lighter side right now. If I like this product, I could see, I mean, for $6, I could see taking this on vacation with me. Jeremy and I are leaving for our cruise in February. And it's like, this is the type of product that I would like to have, just something that's like super sheer and easy to use. I mean, right now I'm just planning on bringing my Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue, which I'll definitely let you know like how this compares to that, but I could see bringing this along. So, you know, it's this nice small tube. I should look and see. So this is not quite 1 ounce, so it's just under, you know, what your standard size foundation would be. So I'm just gonna kind of like press it in first. Great, I have a pimple forming right here above my eyebrow. That's super wonderful. Should have put some of that primer there because it's definitely kind of red. So once I have this all pressed into place, then I can sort of like lightly start buffing this in. Okay, I don't feel like I used too much. I mean, I guess I could have used less, but I feel like, what does this say it is? Sheer to light? Sheer to medium. It says sheer to medium. Yeah, I'm gonna say, boy, this is almost, I mean, for me, this is like light leaning medium coverage, which kind of excites me because that means that I need even less of it, or this might be something that would be really good to put on with like a wet beauty sponge or a damp beauty sponge, which is kind of how I wanted to try it out, but I was worried that it would be like too sheer. But I mean, like, that's pretty covered. Like, it's not too much. I mean, I can still see, like, I don't know if you can see it in the camera. Let me actually zoom you guys in here. Hi. Okay, so, I mean, I can still see some pigmentation spots from previous acne a little bit, but not a lot. I'm gonna be interested to see how this feels where I put the primer. And again, you know, that's the thing about doing like a first impressions. I will use all of these products. Like I will go ahead and use this foundation tomorrow, or tinted moisturizer, or whatever the heck they're calling it, tinted hydrator. I'll use this tomorrow on its own without the primer, or with a primer that I know that I love, so that I can let you know. But right now I just feel like it's definitely, it almost like stuck more right around my face where I did put the primer down, which, you know, is okay, but I also don't want it to look too foundation-y. I mean, right now I'm feeling like this is just like a straight up really nice foundation. It isn't quite as sheer as what I thought it was going to be, but that's very easy. That's very easy to, you know, I could mix this with something. I could sheer it out, like I said, with like a damp sponge. I think the finish is really pretty. I mean, for $6.50, this is pretty impressive so far. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it wears. And I do think that it's a pretty good color match, especially if I sheer it out just a tiny bit more. A tiny bit more. I feel like it's a nudge too light, but maybe not. It's actually probably just fine, but I definitely need to put some dimension back into my face, which we will do in a little bit with the Putty Bronzer, which I'm really excited to try. But we need to conceal first. I mean, honestly, with this coverage, the only thing that I feel like I need to conceal is my under eye. I usually do a good bit over my nose, but I do feel like that primer really helped cut down the redness on my nose, so I don't feel like I need to do that. So that's pretty exciting, because I just find putting concealer on my nose, it just never blends in perfectly. So hopefully this kind of alleviates that. So I'm just gonna do my inner corners and then right through there, and we'll blend that out. Okay, that looks pretty good. I have to say, I like the amount of coverage it had. The finish looks good. I don't really see too much creasing yet. I did also take that tinted hydrator though, like right up under my eye. So if I do have problems, it's gonna kind of be hard to tell which is which. Okay, before I get going any further, we do need to set, especially under the eye, but I'm so scared. I'm so scared. So Covergirl and Influencer sent me a couple products over, one of them being this Clean Invisible Loose Powder. So this is now talc and fragrance free, so I got this through a Voxbox program. This is by no way sponsored at all. I'm obviously just trying it out, and we'll probably have to give a review. But I got the shade Translucent Light, which you'd think would be light, but I don't feel like this is light. Like, it's gonna have to be super translucent to come up light on my skin. I'm nervous, but I'm going to give it a go. It just, this does not look light. This does not look light. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see here. I'm gonna give it a go. Okay, I'm just realizing that the packaging is tinted. It's not clear packaging. The packaging is tinted, so that's a good sign. But I am also realizing that this looks hella pink. It looks pink. Like, which, you know, to like brighten wouldn't normally be too bad, but I am neutral leaning warm. So I don't know how this is going to go. Okay, I'm pulling out the big guns. We're gonna pull out a Wayne Goss brush and start under the eye first. Okay. Okay, that's actually not too bad. I'm just gonna dust this. I think what I'm gonna do is just dust it over the middle. I didn't even talk about the finish of that tinted hydrator from Wet n Wild, but I feel like it's skin-like. It's not overly glowy. It's not even like as glowy as like the House Labs foundation. I would say that this one is almost like the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation as far as finish goes. It's that like beautiful satiny finish, not super matte and not super glowy. So I don't really want to get it too matte. So I'm not gonna like powder my cheeks, especially since we still have some cream products to put on. But I did just want to make sure to set down that concealer. Well, I'm glad that I gave this a go. I mean, I was going to either way. It looks okay under the eye. It's maybe, so I'm not a huge powder person. Like the only powders that I really ever use under my eyes are this one and then the Hourglass Veil powder, the loose one. So I'm pretty picky when it comes to under eye powder. On the face, I think that this looks honestly pretty darn good. Again, I'm gonna have to try these more because I have that primer on, that tinted hydrator, and then the powder over the top. So we'll have to see, you know, using each of them individually with other products that I know that I enjoy to see how I feel, but I don't hate it right now. I'm also so glad. I was like, this looks way too dark, but once I got it open, I was like, oh, it's the packaging. It's the packaging that's making it look so dark. I do have to say, I don't really like this lid though. I thought it was maybe a twist off. I don't think it is. I think it's push on, pull off. It does have a powder puff in it, which I won't be using, but I am going to keep it on there because here's the thing, like when I pull it off, it's really tight. So I'm hoping that that little powder puff is almost like a little insurance in case I open this and there's a little bit of like recoil. And I don't want to get powder everywhere. So it's just a little tight, but maybe that will get better with use. So, okay, I'm feeling pretty good about the skin so far. So let's go ahead and dive into this Putty Bronzer. Just for reference, I've never tried any of the Putty products. I haven't tried the Putty Primer, obviously not the Putty Bronzer. I'm excited to get into the blush. Doesn't really have a smell. I'm just taking a Real Techniques contour brush. Oh, I guess you might want to know the shade that I got. I got the shade Tan Lines. When I picked these up at Walmart, they definitely didn't have as many shades at Walmart as they did at Ulta. Oh, but that's what I was talking about, was like Ulta. So I don't really care for the drugstore, more affordable side of my Ulta. I mean, honestly, it's not super huge. I've not really been in like a ton of Ultas, but it's not really huge, and honestly, probably a third of it is dedicated to Morphe, to ColourPop, and to Makeup Revolution, and all of that. And I don't really shop any of those. So I'm like, there's just not a lot of options, and they were out of a lot. Like, they were out of so much of the e.l.f. stuff, which, I mean, good for e.l.f. if it's because everybody's been buying it, but if it's just because they haven't like stocked their shelves in a while, that's kind of a bummer. So honestly, as I was like walking around, I was like, okay, you know, I don't know. I just really wasn't all that impressed. I probably should have popped into another Walgreens, but honestly, the Walgreens by me just, it doesn't have a crazy ton of selection. I could have spent hours running around trying to find these products, right? But I wanted to get a few things, but not have to like put many hours of drive time into this, of course, because that's sort of like, I think one of the things that makes drugstore products, you know, one of the pros about drugstore products is that they're readily available. And so I wanted to get the things that were readily available to me at the time. But of course, you can always like order from these brands online. You know, that helps as well, because I think that a lot of retailers keep much more stock in their warehouses than they do in the store. So I really like this shade for very natural looking color. Like I don't look like I've been out in the sun for 12 years, but I have shape back to my face. I feel like that tinted hydrator just sort of like took all of the dimension out of my face, and this sort of, you know, brought some of that back. It's interesting because I don't know what, so this says it's infused with argan oil and vitamin E. You know, I'm just kind of like, the finish of it is, again, it's almost more of like a satin finish. I have to say, this is really pretty. It's really pretty. It is not as balmy as like the Salt New York Cream Tint Pros are, but it's not as matte as some of the others. Like I feel like the Charlotte Tilbury one leans a little bit more matte than this. I'm really liking this. I'm really liking this so far. And I almost didn't buy it because I was like, you don't necessarily need another bronzer. You don't really need another bronzer, but I've been very curious to try this, and I needed something that was, you know, more in that like winter color tone. I think this is going to be good. I will say, come after spring, it's probably going to be way too light for me to be able to use, but it is going to be nice to have this one through the winter. So far, so good. So I think I'm just going to use the same brush. I'm just going to like wipe off the excess. And now we're going to go through and use this blush, which doesn't really match what we have going on in our eyes, but oh well. So again, this is the shade Isla del Sol. I will go ahead and give you a swatch. I'll also give you a swatch of the Putty Bronzer as well next to it, just in case you're curious. Oh, it's so interesting. So this Putty Bronzer feels like a less slippy version of the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Balm in, you know, in the little like jar. It has a little bit of that primary feeling to it, you know, that like silicone-y thing, but it doesn't have as much like slip as that one does. That's really interesting. Look at this color. I'm going to, this one, if she doesn't suck, she's coming on vacation with me. By the way, let me know, do you want to see a video of me talking about what I'm taking, or maybe I would do it when I come back, talk about what I took on vacation with me. I'm really going to try to like limit. I'm really going to try to limit my makeup bag because we're going to be gone for, well, 13 days altogether. And you know, there's not a lot of room in the bags for like basically a 2-week vacation. So I can't be taking like 4 eyeshadow palettes and 6 lipsticks, you know? So this is, if I look really closely, it's like this coral blush with tiny, tiny micro sheen that's almost like a pink tone. But can you see how these are really kind of sheer? This texture is so nice. Oh my gosh, where have you been? It is, I don't know if you ever saw, I did the video where I was trying the Sephora. They came in tiny little tubes, and they were like a blush that felt kind of like that silicone primary feel, except they did not have as much pigment to them. They were very, very sheer. I don't think that really a lot of skin tones could have worn them, but they were nice. But this I feel like is even more user-friendly. I am so excited to try this right now. We're probably not going to put on a lot just because I'm pretty pale right now, and also, you know, this mauve-y eye look, this mauve to green eye look is probably not going to go super well with this, but oh my gosh, this is like, it's just going on like a dream. And I'm really going to try, you know, just to use these pressing motions just so I don't like pull up anything from underneath, but this is nice. This is why sometimes you're like, and why do I spend $35 on a cream blush? I mean, I will say, if you are like a packaging person, if you're a packaging person, you know, these are pretty basic. They're pretty basic. They don't feel super cheap. I still remember like the days where e.l.f. had their like $1 items. I don't think that they do that anymore, but like those were like barely in plastic wrap, you know? Like this is not like that. It's a little bit more sturdy, but it's certainly not going to give you any luxe vibes. I definitely think that the other blush, the Turks and Caicos color, would have probably been a little bit better for me. However, I do also think that I am going to prefer the Luminous because I don't even feel like this is, it's not that overly glowy cheek, it's just luminous enough. So if anything, I might return this one for another shade of Luminous, but I don't think that they had many at the Walmart that I was at. So I'll have to see. The jury's still out. I've only had this on for like 5 minutes, so we'll have to see how it wears. I think that's gonna be good. That is not as much blush as what I would normally wear, but I also, you know, I don't want it to get too like super coral and have these mauvey eyes. So now let's go ahead and try the other CoverGirl item that I was sent. This is the Lash Blast Lash and Brow Serum. So this says it's clinically proven. Lashes look up to 24% longer after 30 days. Please notice that they say look. They don't say that they are. So this is said to have bamboo extract, biotin, peptides, and castor oil, and it's a conditioning gel that protects lashes and brows to prevent breakage. It helps to support healthy looking lashes and brows. So yes, this is just an appearance of. So I think what I'm gonna do is, I have another brow gel that I'm going to use today, so I'm not gonna run this through my brows, but what I thought I would do is run it through one of my lashes. Like I'm gonna do it on one side, and then we'll do the mascara on both sides so that we can kind of see if we feel like there's a difference between side to side. Because to me, this is sounding like it's maybe like a conditioner and a primer in one, perhaps. I don't know, we'll see. I do use Latisse, although I've been really, really bad about it recently. I do use Latisse, and that actually does make your lashes longer because it slows down the shedding cycle in your growth periods. So it actually does make your lashes longer. It doesn't make them thicker, but I also haven't really been that great about using it recently. So I've noticed that my lashes have gotten shorter again. Darn it all. So before I do that though, why don't we go ahead and finish up this eye look really quick. I think what I'm going to do is simply use this color on the inner corner, and then I'm gonna buff this smoky gray on the bottom. I think that that will blend nicely and we can get a feel for how I feel. I'm just gonna go through with a dry brush with that first shade, and that's gonna be our inner corner. I know that this isn't really letting these shades shine all that much, but there's just so much I can put on 2 eyeballs, right? So I'm gonna dab these on. Now, a couple of the other things that people had recommended were the glow shots, glimmer shots from NYX. I did actually swatch a few of those in store, and honestly, so Ulta was carrying them for $10.99, and you know, there's not a lot in them. And I put them on my hand. I'll probably I'll scooch over here as I'm talking. I put them on my hand and they seem like a much thinner type liquid formula, like kind of sheer. So the only way I'm gonna use that is over another cream base, like something that dries down like a Danessa Myricks Color Fix, or perhaps something like the e.l.f. Pencil that I put down first. And they were $10.99, and I'm like, or I could get a Sydney Grace cream shadow, and I think those are like $8 at full price. So they just didn't float my boat. They had some pretty colors, but when they dried down, they didn't look as glimmery, and they were just so thin. So I didn't decide to get those, but that was one thing that a few people said that I should maybe try out, but it just wasn't singing to my makeup lover's heart. That's pretty. I mean, it's very like glistening, kind of like that wet feel. I really like that shade. I'm gonna take this same brush, again, just like dust it off, and we'll take that. Again, I don't know what to call it. It is like a taupey, it's a taupey gray brown, and we're gonna run that through the lower lash line. I will say that these blend really, really beautifully. You know, it's not, at least this set is not like overly high shine, but it's a very beautiful, sophisticated shine. This shade, like this darker one, is really more of like a nice satin, but it's great. Like this would make such a quick smoky eye. Oh my gosh. Like you could very easily just buff this all over the lid and up into the crease and pop that color on the inner corner like I did, and boom, you'd be done for the night. Okay, now to finish that off, I am gonna go through and I'm gonna put this pencil in my waterline. I don't know how it's gonna be having a gray lower lash line and a cool brown waterline, but we're doing it anyway. For science, babies, for science. Okay, I don't think that this is gonna be for the waterline for me. It just isn't saturated enough in tone. I think part of that is, you know, because it is smudgeable, it just isn't it just isn't enough tone. I mean, it got there, but it's not like as wham bam as some of the eye pencils that I like. But this I think is still a great option. Like I could have smudged this out on the lower lash line super easily. That would have made a really great smoky eye as well. I could also, of course, like I did, just even take it up further and then re-pencil on the lash line to have, you know, a beautiful like eye look. So not complaining about this one. I just don't think it's going to be for the waterline for me. So we'll have to see. I mean, it might last really well and I might be like, actually, I want to try a couple other colors of this, but this was one of the darker colors. They had a blue and like a couple nude colors, and this one, there wasn't a lot, but that was just in Ulta, and I already talked about like how Ulta's doing. Okay, so let's go ahead, because I saw that this Lash and Brow Serum says if you're going to use mascara over it, that you don't want to wait for it to dry fully. So I'm gonna go ahead and curl my lashes. I'm gonna pop this on this side and then do mascara on both. We'll see how it goes. Do you remember when drugstore mascaras used to come with the wand outside of it? I always kind of appreciated that because you could really see what the wand looks like. Maybe it was just a couple brands that did that, but I really liked that. I just want to kind of take a peek at this mascara beforehand so that we can talk about this. Okay, this is interesting. This is not, it's not quite what I thought it was going to be. Okay, I don't even think that you're gonna necessarily be able to see this, but there are tiny, tiny, what they call the lift and hook. I think that's what they're calling it. The front hook bristles. So you're supposed to go root to tip with this flatter side because there's very tiny bristles to help load and stretch the lashes out, I'm assuming. And then you turn it this way and you use the side hook comb to separate your lashes for added volume and length. So I kind of thought that this was going to be, like I said, sort of like the Make Waves, where you have the first side that helps like load everything up and then the second side that like helps curl and stretch everything out. I knew that this wasn't supposed to curl your lashes because it is a bit more of a straight brush. I was hoping that this was going to be slightly more like the Maybelline Lash Stylist, which was more like, it was legit a comb. It looked like a brow comb. It was a comb, like, and I don't mean like a spoolie brow type thing, but if you've ever like gotten those sets where there's like a brow brush and like scissors in it, it kind of looked like that. Like the comb was just a legit comb, and that thing was like a push-up bra for your lashes. I loved that mascara. I was so sad when they got rid of it. But anyway, I'm rambling. I'm gonna curl. I'm gonna put this Lash Blast on the one side. I will say, this is a very spiky brush. Wow, it's like a very firm, spiky brush. It is a very clear product though, which, you know, could be really good. I will be really curious to try this in my brows, but I use a brow gel, like a styling brow gel, basically every single day. So I don't really know how that's gonna work out. But man, I did get myself with that brow brush. with the brush from the brow gel. So I'm gonna go ahead while this is like setting down a little bit. I'm gonna do the other side with this Telescopic Lift Mascara. Now, the regular Telescopic, the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black Mascara is one of my all-time favorite lengthening mascaras. I use it a lot as like a first coat with a more volumizing mascara, or I'll use it when, you know, I'm just looking for like really lengthened, defined lashes. So I'll be curious to see how I feel about it compared to this one. Okay, so I've done the like flatter, short hook side, and now I'm gonna turn it to the longer ones. And I would think if you're gonna do extra coats, that you would just go back through with like the long side after you've used the short side once. I feel like it, I don't know. And I'm probably just gonna use the long side to do my lowers as well. I mean, it definitely made my lower lashes, whoa, look really long. All right, while I'm waiting for that side to dry just a little bit, I'm gonna do this side. I need to like inspect it to make sure I'm using the right side. This is maybe not the mascara to put on when you're just like, need to like whack something on and get out the door. Okay, my camera shut off while I was applying mascara and I didn't realize it. So here's the finished result. I did do 2 coats on both sides. I don't really notice a difference as far as the thickness. More on this side, the side that I use the lash primer. What are they calling this product? Are they even calling it a lash and brow serum? They're not even saying it's a primer. I don't know. I'm gonna have to try it out. Like, I'm gonna be curious to see what it feels like if you just use it on its own at night. Like, is it gonna be sticky? Because if it's supposed to be conditioning, I could see like wearing it to bed maybe. Like, I'd put on my regular lash serum on my lash line and then put that in. We'll have to see how I decide to update everyone on these products. I mean, I feel like with some of these, I really need to try them quite a few times. So maybe I'll do like at the end of the month, kind of like a roundup of all the things that I've been trying, just to sort of give you my thoughts on them. Who knows, by the time I get this video edited, I might have given it enough of a shot, all of these, to just, you know, like put it either in the comments or right here as I'm rambling. I might have already told you some things, but so far I think that this is a pretty mascara. You probably can't see with this with this dark eye look, but it is a good combination of length and volume, I would have to say. It's not super clumpy, but it's more volumizing than the regular L'Oreal Telescopic. I would say that for sure. I'm liking it so far. It didn't make a huge mess. It does take a little bit more finesse to work with, you know, those bristles, just because they are so short, but it's just like something new to get used to. So I'm definitely going to be interested in trying this more. Also, I feel like the formula, when you first open a new bottle of mascara, as opposed to like even like a week later, things change up a little bit. So now we're going to go through the brows, and I am going to use, I've had this baby in my drawer, in my to try drawer, for quite a while. I don't have that many things in my collection that I've never used, but this is one of them and I need to give this a go. So this is the NYX Brow Glue. I saw that they just recently came out with tinted ones. That scares me. That scares me because I like to be able to have the opportunity to really like push these up and like play around with them a little bit, and I don't want color everywhere. So I'm gonna run this through and then we will put something else through the brows, and then I have a couple lip options to share with all of you. Now, as I'm about to go through with this, you all know, well, you do if you have been following me here, that I really like the e.l.f. Brow Lift. Is that what this thing is called? The e.l.f. Brow Lift. So this is, you know, a brow wax, whereas this is a brow glue. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a little tackier and maybe dry a little bit more firm. I mean, it's definitely like, even as I like brought it out, it was like sticky, like had strings hanging off of it. So I have, especially on this side, this is my bad side of my brows, I have like a sparse spot right through here. So usually if I'm going for like a more like lifted brow, I end up going through with a pen and just drawing in brow hairs right there. Now I'm definitely, I like somewhere between a fluffy brow and a laminated brow. Like, I want my brow hairs to be up, but I don't necessarily need them to be like smushed down to my skin either, just because I feel like then they definitely don't look fluffy. But I can't have them too fluffy because the areas that I have no brow that I pencil in obviously aren't going to be fluffy because it's down on my skin. It's a whole thing. This is my better brow. It's definitely my better brow. I think we all have that. And I always like to go like backwards through my brows just to get a little bit more product on. And also it coats the hairs a little bit more, so I feel like they look a little thicker. But it also, you know, from underneath, especially if you are doing a laminated brow, the underneath is what you need to stick down, not the top. So I always just like to do that. I do like the fact that this does not seem to be super white. I've definitely had some products in the past that when you get a bit in, it starts to get, you know, that kind of like crispity crunchity look, like that more like dried crispy gel look, and I'm not seeing that in this. They seem fairly lifted. They're not shellacked down, but they are fairly lifted. So far so good. I don't know. I will be very curious to see how this dries. I'm not sure. So I'm gonna let this go, but I do have two lip color choices. The one product I thought about pulling out today because I cannot really buy another product. I was going to pull out the Superstay Vinyl Ink products. You guys know that I love these. If you haven't seen the video that I did compare this to the House Labs Atomic Shake and the Urban Decay Vinyl Vice something or other. I really do like these. I saw that they have new colors, by the way. They have probably it looked like 10 new colors. But I have 2 lip products, again from the Sephora collection, that I picked up during the sale. They're both, let's see, this one is 12. This is one of the S Clean, I think it's like a satin lip. And then this is one of the Sephora Rouge lacquers. These are 15. So I'm gonna swatch these out and we can decide which of these to put on. I've tried this formula before, but I have not tried this one. Okay, so what got me swatching these more like slightly shiny colors is I was looking for a dupe, even though I have a full tube right now, but I was looking for a dupe for my favorite lipstick. Like, it's my everyday go-to, and that is the Urban Decay Vice lipstick in Ex-Girlfriend, and it's been discontinued, and I think that they've reformulated and done all the things. So I was like, maybe I could find a dupe. Neither of these are a dupe, but this color right here is the S Clean satin lipstick in Dandelion. And then this one here is the Rouge Lac. Oops. It's in such tiny writing on the bottom. Let's see, I hope it's on the side of this thing. It's an L37 Get Ready. This one I knew was not a dupe, but I just, when I swatched the formula, I was like, ooh, I do really like this, and I could probably like sheer it out to be like a nudie mulberry tone, but there's something about this one. I think this is the one I'm gonna try. I hope it's not like too nudie. I don't wanna have like concealer lips, but I think we can make it work. The one thing that I will say is, again, if you are all about the packaging, this is not gonna do it for you. These are cardboard. I think the other, like the Lip Stories ones are cardboard too. At least some of them are, so, you know. But it is less plastic, and it does say that these are made in Italy, if that floats your boat. Okay, this formula is so comfortable. This is quite nude. It's very, very nude. Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna take my hair down first because I'm not gonna need that for the eyebrow portion. I'll probably just end up penciling in a few hairs, but I'm gonna see what I have for lip pencil because I'm gonna need a little bit of extra help around the edges with how light this color is. Okay, I have one of the NYX lip liners. This is just like the classic black lip liner. This is the shade Peekaboo Neutral. I'm just gonna pop a little bit of this around the outside just to give a little bit more dimension to my lips and like make it look like it's different than my facial skin. I feel better. I feel much better. What I would probably do in the future is just pop this lip liner on first and then go through with this lipstick. It is super creamy and comfortable though, so comfortable. And these are $12 at full price, so you're gonna get a great deal if you happen to get it during the Sephora collection being 30% off sale. I really like it. I will say it has a little bit of that white base to it that I think can sometimes emphasize texture, or like, not even texture, but the wrinkles in the skin because it like sits in it. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad, but I would probably like to have a balm on, or if my lips are super dry, maybe this isn't the shade that I would go for, but as far as the formula, it feels really nice. I can also tell that this is gonna be one that doesn't stay on for a long time just because it's super creamy. Like I know, like the minute I like take my cup, it's gonna be on the cup. But I also know that this is so easy. I could just like whisk it on without a mirror or anything. So I could just like keep this in a drawer at work or in my pocket or whatever, and it would be fine. So now let's work on these eyebrows here. What should I grab to throw through? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna grab this Ardell Stroke-A-Brow. I've talked about these before. This is just a feathering pen. I know that NYX has one, but I'm just gonna pop like a couple strokes through here. What shade is this one? Is this like the medium brown shade? Yeah, it's the medium brown. So I'm just gonna add a couple hairs. Okay, can you tell that that just like adds a bit more dimension? It helps me fill in the sparse areas where I don't have any hairs. I have to say, right off the bat, so I did want to tell you, like this definitely feels like a flexible gel. Like it dries fairly firm, but it's not like, it's not as hard actually. It's not as hard as the 24/7 brow setter from Benefit. That is like hard hairspray, hard. Whereas this has a little bit of flex to it still, but it's also not as flexible as like the Brow Lift. The other thing that I'm liking about this, which is another reason why I like the Benefit 24/7 brow setter, is that I can still draw strokes with a pen and it doesn't get blocked by the waxiness of the product. Both the Anastasia Brow Freeze and the e.l.f. one have that slightly, the Anastasia one is worse than the e.l.f. one, but like because it sort of coats your skin in a bit of like a waxy pomade, it's very hard to get strokes onto your skin. The only thing that I find works incredibly well is like a brow pomade, and then you just have to use like a really fine like liner brush to be able to draw those strokes. But I was able to use the pen very, very easily through my brows. I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I will be curious to see if I can, I mean, I like this. I like the like more lifted up, they're not smushed down, but I will be curious to see if I can lay these down a little bit by just like pressing them down. We'll have to play around. Okay, lots of things to talk about. Let's zoom out. I'm gonna give you some final thoughts. I'm not gonna keep you too much longer because I feel like I basically talked about every single product as we went. So let's just do a little roundup here at the end and talk about what I loved and what I'm looking forward to using again. All right, you'll have to let me know. If you saw me somewhere, would you say, wow, that woman is wearing all products that were $15 or less? I don't know. I feel pretty happy about it. I think I would say, wow, that woman needs a little more blush, but that's just me. That's just me. I totally could have like popped on more of that color. I really kind of would like to, but I think it's just too orange. But that's neither here nor there. I just obviously didn't want like super corally cheeks, although I am excited to go ham with that color. I totally am. So speaking of, let's talk a little bit about the products that I loved. I mean, I don't feel like there was any straight up dud in this mix. So, okay, the products that I'm kind of like, about are the ones that I kind of knew. I mean, I would never buy a lash and brow serum like this. I just never would. I think that it's a lot of hype. It's a lot of marketing. I didn't notice a difference on my lashes at all as far as like them looking thicker. Now this is obviously just round one, right? Like, am I going to be dedicated enough to use this for 30 days to really see results from it? I don't know. I might try to add it in to my nighttime routine. I'll pop it in my bathroom. If it doesn't feel weird on my lashes, I will go ahead and like pop it on at night. But I'm not even sure if like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really even say, it just says like to use it. So I don't know. Like, I feel like, like this is just, it's not a product that I would ever be drawn to. I just did it today because they sent it to me and I wanted to try it out. So I'm grateful to have been given some things, but I know even when I took the little survey, I was like, yeah, no, I don't want a brow serum because that's just not something that I normally do, a brow or a lash serum. So we'll have to see. Jury's out on this one, but I think usually it's like a bit of hype in marketing. So what else? Let's talk a little bit about the Profusion palette. So $5. I mean, first of all, $5 and some change. Did I get a decent look from this? Yes. I feel like the mattes were a bit fussy because, you know, that one I really had a little bit of a hard time almost getting some patchy spots with. They needed to be built up, but they could be built up. So if you have a little bit more time, I think that's it. You just are going to have to spend a bit more time with these. I was able to use 4 of the matte shades and 1 of the shimmer shades. Again, I'll have to give this shimmer a go at some point to just see how it is. I have a lot of shimmers that are like this tone though, so I don't know that that's gonna be a huge draw for me. This color story is very pretty. I think it has a lot of potential. I think it's good. Do I think it's worth $5? Hell yes. Hell yes, it's worth $5. I would say honestly, this is even, I don't think that the mattes in here perform as well as what the Wet n Wild ones that I've had good luck with do. I also know that people say that some of the Wet n Wild ones can be kind of like hit or miss, but all the ones that I've gotten have been pretty decent. I even think the shimmers are maybe, I don't know, that Roots shade really went on well when it was wet, so I was pretty impressed with that one. So it's decent. Do I think I'm gonna run out and buy a bunch more Profusion palettes? No, probably not. Would I recommend this brand to someone who was just getting started out or maybe is looking to venture into some deeper tones or venture into a new color story and they don't want to invest a lot? Absolutely. Like $5 and some change at full price is a great price. I just don't think it's like the best of the best. They are a drier formula, a more powdery formula. No, it's not even like that powdery. It's just that it's dry. It's a dry formula. But I do also think that sometimes that lends itself to not overwhelming yourself with color in a look, you know, like because you do have to build them up a little bit more. It's hard to just go like, oh, way too much at first. So again, I think this is a really good, like beginner friendly product. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna say on this. And the Revlon palette, I hate it that they put these like clearance stickers on here. I'm gonna have to get that off later, but I like it. I really like it. I think it's, again, a really good option for a quick grab and go. I could definitely see this being a really easy glam smoky eye, a really easy like one and done shade. I think that these would be really good one and dones. Does it beat out any of the shimmer shadows that I have? No. If these were, let's say at regular price, I think they're around $10 or $11. So that's $2.50 a shade. That's a pretty good price. Like, you're not really gonna find many single shadows for $2.50 a shade that are like a really good quality. So I think that this is lovely. Is there anything in here that is gonna beat out any of my like Sydney Grace shimmers? No, not necessarily, but I think that, you know, this is a nice option to have if I'm just looking for something like super quick. Having a quad that I can pull out, I think is great. So I'm definitely gonna dip into this one more. So obviously I loved the Putty products. I loved both the bronzer and the blush. Could I see getting more blushes? Yes, absolutely. I'm really going to enjoy using this bronzer. This is like the perfect color for me through the winter. I'm very grateful to have this one. Surprised by this. Glad it was a good color. Let's take a peek here. Again, I've got so many new products on, it's gonna be hard to tell like what is what if I'm having any issues. I have a smidge of creasing under the eye, but nothing crazy. And the skin looks really good. It looks really good, y'all. Like, I feel good. I feel definitely like my redness has been balanced, and I feel like that tinted hydrator is more coverage than I thought it was going to be, for sure. But I'm looking forward to using it in other ways with other products. So especially for me getting it essentially for like $1.50, but even at the full price at $6.50, you're good to go. I definitely would recommend it. Right off first bat, this is again just a first impression though, but this baby is going to be sitting on my vanity for a while, and I'm gonna try her out more. The lipstick, I really like it. I feel like it's a little bit lighter than I was hoping it would be on my lips, but nothing that a lip liner won't cure. I obviously could have mixed the two together. That would have been pretty as well. I'm just kind of like looking around here. We tried out so many things today. The concealer, like it. I definitely am gonna need to use it a bit more with other products that I know how they sit to really give you a true testimony of how I feel like it is under the eyes. And you know what, this is not a new product. You've probably already seen reviews on this one, but this will be one that I'll come back to in the future and update you on. Oh, I did miss one product. No, I missed two products. Loving this, cannot wait to use it more. I can't believe she's been sitting in my drawer for like, honestly, 3-4 months. I don't even know how long. This is definitely gonna get used. This No Budge Shadow Stick, I think it worked great as a base for that color. I think that honestly, that is gonna be one of the things that probably like saved that shadow, is having a deeper base underneath. But for $5, I mean, this is really nice. It could be a really quick smoky eye too. Like I said, I think it's gonna be a good liner. I just don't think it's gonna be a great water liner. Let's take a peek. It's been a little bit, it's still there, but again, it's not intense. It's not deep and dark and rich. So that is that. The mascara, this Telescopic Lift. I'm really liking this. Did I need to buy another mascara? No, I did not. I have so many. In fact, I think a lot of you probably thought that I was gonna be doing that Milani tubing mascara in this video, but I knew that I had already gotten this one with points. So technically, you know, I didn't spend my money, but I was just very tempted to try this one because I like the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black. So with this lift, I'm like, well, yeah, I could use a little more lift. Like, who couldn't? So I was just too tempted. I had to give it a go, and there was a sale. I got sucked into the sale, but I used the points. Anyway, I like it. I definitely, at this point, I'm gonna be done buying mascaras. Like this I bought before the end of the year before, so I'm not like breaking my beauty goals, because I think that no mascara was definitely on there. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed just getting to see a few products that have, you know, some budget-friendly potential here. I think that this really does prove that you can get some beautiful beauty products at a great price. Again, I am not shaming the high-end and luxury products. You know that I love a lot of those. Of course, a lot of indie brands I enjoy, but there are times that you can get good deals on certain products in your makeup routine, and I don't think that any of these did me super dirty. We'll see in the future. Again, I'll update you, but I do think that this was a good reminder for me to just realize, like, yeah, you can actually get some great products at a great value. Like these, I mean, hello, I have products that are 4 times this much, 5 times this much, oh heck, even more than that, a lot of times this much, and these perform beautifully. So So that is it. That is our long, rambly journey down into the budget territory of Makeup Landia. I hope you've enjoyed. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend it with me. And while I don't plan on doing another drugstore haul soon, just because I'm really going to enjoy using these products and seeing how I feel about them, if there's something that you love that you have in your collection and I'm missing out on, or there's something that you've seen come out that you'd be curious about my thoughts on, leave it down in the comments. I would love to know. Thank you so much, lovelies. I will see you really soon.